contributing to a lot of charities and organizations, just like everybody, I am sure. And there are endless requests for support that come across your desks, by phones, when you go out to parties, from your relatives, from your employees, from your friends, and then whenever there's a calamity, earthquake, bagyo, especially for the locals, these are endless requests. And to be honest, for me, sometimes I just put the request under the desk. And sometimes you get tired of the endless requests. Primarily why? Because we get resigned and thinking it's a never-ending thing. It will always come because poverty is always there. Unless poverty is eradicated, there is no end to this request. We are curing symptoms and not addressing the disease. We are just band-aiding to no end in sight. And I think everybody knows that feeling, right? And as we say, if we want to minimize the endless requests, we have to solve the root cause. That poverty is the source of 95% of the problems. Band-aiding feels good until it seems endless. And then your instinct tells you to run. And to me, it's not only run, it's run and hide, especially for me and many others who grew up here with families and everything. 6 years ago, one of our Hong Kong-based friends introduced us to ICM. To this day, ICM, as David said, gets 90% of its funding from outside the Philippines. It is largely run by amazing volunteer base in Hong Kong. They are really, truly amazing. Some of them give their time freely. Some of them donate and give time freely. It is just an amazing group and amazing people to know. Knowing this alone challenged us and that we want to do our part in the change. Philippines is our home, and our home as a family. It has been very good to both of us and to my mom, my dad, my brothers, my sisters, my cousins. It has many problems, but it has been very good to all of us. To know that all these volunteers donate their time, many of them are not even Filipinos, and many of them have not received the benefits of being in the country or being a Filipino and have not taken advantage of the riches that the Philippines has to offer. Resonates, right? Both Felix and I started our poverty fighting journey with ICM.
So after we looked at this tsunami wave of poverty, were introduced to ICM, we also wanted to verify that everything that has been told us is actually true. We went into this, then we saw that the VHL seminar that has been spoken about actually really works. In the beginning we were very skeptical. We said, hey listen, 6 weeks and these people are not only living on the abyss, they are over the abyss. They're hanging on with their fingernails. In 6 weeks you're going to change their lives? You must be kidding me. But actually, it does change their life. Why does it change their life? This togetherness feeling that is generated there, it gives them that tiny spark of hope. And being together and being in this together and together trying to find a way out of the situation they are in is so very, very powerful. The next thing that we observe is the very simple hygiene solution, the tippy tap that you heard. This is a tippy tap. You can do this with mostly with the materials you can get from garbage. As you know, these people who cling on over the abyss with their fingernails, when they have a health problems, that is when even their fingernails let go and they are in this bottomless pit and there is no way out of it. So this tippy tap, very, very cheap to do, very, very effective. It prevents a lot of problems. The next thing we verified, people have to have skin in the game for it to be effective. This skin in the game means that the families are expected to contribute. So that means the Nutri-Packs, the food things that they're getting and that are distributed into the schools and they are part of the Jumpstart program, the mothers are expected to come and help prepare. The fathers are expected to help fix things in the school. We also confirmed that the pastor-centric approach is efficient and effective. Now look, if you were to try to put up this platform, this distribution platform. By distribution, I don't only mean physical distribution, I mean the distribution of services. Very importantly, all this distribution of services. If you were to replicate that, it would cost you an absolute fortune, and it would not create that social capital that is so very, very important. Our next observation is the severely malnourished children feeding program. Severely malnourished children, once their brain is damaged, because of this malnourishment, you cannot reverse this damage. You can reverse the physical symptoms of malnourishment, but you cannot reverse what happens to the brain. Now we're all business people. When you do a simple ROI, can you imagine the cost of basically a kid that has no hope to even get 1 year of education, and you multiply that over a couple of 10 or 100,000, And the cost to society is simply huge. We've been sponsoring a school for like 6 or 7 years. We saw with our own eyes that if you're a child of an ultra-poor, your chance of even a very, very basic public education, your crack at it, is just so small. Okay, it's easy to put yourself in this situation. Let's say you are one of 5 children, your mom and dad have the equivalent of 2-year education. Your primary problem is food on the table. To go into the public school, you need number 1, birth certificate, marriage certificate, etc., etc., etc. Otherwise, you won't even make it. ICM solves these documentary problems, but even if you had that, what support are your parents going to give you? Now, I grew up in Switzerland, and our parents had a very simple system. They told us, I also come from a family of 5 kids, they simply told us, we will support you. You have a food on the table and a roof over your head as long as you pursue an education that makes sense. And if you don't, you're out. And when you're done, you're out. In Switzerland also, if you do, I have 2 Swiss compatriots here. In Switzerland also, if you do not send your kids to public school, the police will show up very quickly. Because not enrolling your kids in public school is a criminal offense. You go to jail, there are no questions asked. It doesn't happen exactly because of that. But we have hundreds of thousands of kids where this simply doesn't work. And ICM not only gives them the basics, equips them with what they need to go to school, which means the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s. These kids also form a community already. And they basically, their spark and their thirst for learning is awakened. Our children saw with their own eyes that they can make a difference. Whether this was painting one of those schools, that's our daughter with one of her friends, or whether it was selling shirts that they had designed in school. What we did not know when we did this was that how important these activities with friends and in school were to raise awareness for ICM for the later fundraising that we started. Supporting our school, I say our school because ICM, when you sponsor one of these schools, and ICM is about 80 schools or whatever it is in the country, and each school puts about 30 to 25 to 35 kids through every year. So we did that for, I guess, 5 years, and we just pretty much kept to ourselves, our family, our friends, and during that time we reconfirmed a couple of things. Number 1, that the ICM platform puts money and software to work with leverage. How could we have sponsored a school in the middle of nowhere and sent 250 kids there without an ICM platform? The ICM's platform is scalable. Right now the ICM platform is over many islands in the Philippines. It could as well be anywhere else. ICM talks the language of business in analyzing efforts and results. Look, if you're an organization of this size, you do simply make many mistakes, and ICM addresses those mistakes, acknowledges them, and moves on. And that's just how it should be. We have seen this with our own eyes over these years. ICM is very open-minded and is keen to partner, whether it's Stop Hunger Now or any of these other charities that are out, any of the other organizations. I have tried myself, and Angeline as well, to meet with other organizations. Now I tell you, when you're in the not-for-profit world, people click very differently from the for-profit world. It sounds so simplistic, but it's an insight that was very hard for me to accept. I've met others as well, but ICM is just so open-minded. And actually, if we want to attack this tsunami wave or protect ourselves from this tsunami wave, then we just have no other choice but to partner. If you go up against hunger, it's so huge, it's so complex. There is no way that you can do this on your own. And keep in mind, ICM is not just, it does not address poverty on a large scale. It's focused on the ultra-poor. So the problem is actually much bigger than the world that ICM addresses. We have met Dave and Diane, they're both here today, and you've heard Dave before. They are simply amazing people. They will not tell you just how much they do for this. It is mind-boggling, and they are an absolute inspiration. I think Angeline will agree with me, if it weren't for them, there were many moments when we asked ourselves, are we really gonna go into this further? And they were always the ones who showed the way forward without any other act than what they did. It is just an inspiration. There are also a huge number of very, very inspiring ICM volunteers, whether it's all the ones that we don't know in Hong Kong, who in one night can raise $1 million with a banquet, or whether it's the young couples who give a year or two of their time to make some of these fantastic videos and collaterals, etc. that ICM has. This is all volunteer work. Once ICM also had the local papers, etc., we went into fundraising locally. This was another eye-opener for us. In the beginning, we were very reluctant because we thought our friends and partners, etc., would all run away. And I had, from the very beginning, this idea with Angeline. We developed this idea that we wanted to see circles of support from different industries. Here in the Philippines, this networking is absolutely huge, and if you can get somebody starting in different industries, whether it's financial industry or different manufacturing sectors, etc., you can get somewhere. Because what we know from our own experience, raising money here is a personal matter in many aspects. You know, our funding, our contribution is a corporate contribution. It was out of our Hong Kong company until the Philippine company existed. Now, the Hong Kong money is obviously tax-free money, as is, and the Philippine money is now also tax-free because we can contribute here and we can fully tax deduct it. This is the practical aspects, but this is how it works in our experience. I've been here for 25 years. It is contacting people to raise money is a personal matter. We give corporate money, some people give personal money. We actually we try to do both. And it's just been absolutely amazing. For instance, these Nutri-Packs, etc., that are being carried around when they arrive and carried around the Philippines. One donor who doesn't want to be known carries them for free. This adds up to a very significant amount of money in our country. This also had a different effect. I think, you know, Dave and Deanne can correct me later, but when Yolanda happened, it was actually ICM was the first organization to have food on the ground in Leyte and in Samar. Why was that possible? Because the friend also has a self-unloader. And because ICM's feeding operation is so big, he went, picked up, I don't know, 120, 150,000 of these packs, put them on his ship, went over and unloaded this thing, and there they were distributed. Long before any other of the very big organizations with very well-funded pockets were able to do anything. We want to talk a little bit about numbers. Our corporate cash donation has sent 250 kids through Jumpstart School. I'm a big believer of education myself. If we want to change their lives permanently, the kids are the hope. We focus our efforts on the schools and on education. Again, how could we have done this without an ICM platform? Another example that I want to give you is when the Bohol earthquake happened. Our school then was in Bohol. 2 days after the earthquake, we got a call and it said, our schools in Bohol are down. At that time it was 7 schools or whatever it was. We need, I think it was $2,000 to fix all the schools. A bill of materials was sent to us. We looked at it and we said, go ahead. Another 2 days later, we got the report that the schools have been fixed. We went to Bohol 2-3 months later, and 2 or 3 of those schools were shown to us with pride. Now, I can tell you this, I think no other organization fixed structures at this speed in Bohol. We wanted the kids to go back to work. There was enough trauma in their life, and we wanted the kids back there in their school, being together, pursuing their education. And ICM got that done very fast, and as far as I'm concerned, fixing these 7 schools, we just bought the materials, the rest was done by these volunteers, by the parents, etc. So we think that was fantastic. Actually, the first Philippine donors of ICM are local artists. They have given their works to ICM for their big charity auction in Hong Kong for more than 10 years. So my wife and I said, okay, why don't we make it more formal, give them an event where we update them on what their money has done in this country. So this is now, we've run the second one. This was the first one. The second one has already taken place. Number 4, our giving tree. I mentioned a little bit about this before. According to ICM number, and again, their metrics are very good. Our giving tree is about 15 times larger than our own direct contribution. And that's only we've done this for 3 years now. So in 3 years, we were able to multiply our own efforts 15 times. If you think the Philippines has been good to your company and to you personally, and if you think that you want to have a stab at this poverty monster that we have here, and if you look into ICM and you like what you see, or you have a contribution that fits on the ICM platforms that you can leverage, then please meet ICM, verify it, and then please start your journey of giving. We'd be so happy if you did. Thank you very much.